Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is gonna be true crime this week. Interview with Stephen, Shirilla, Mackenzie, Shirilla's dad. Obviously, they've been doing a media tour, especially after this Netflix documentary. So of course they're trying to do damage control and try to paint the narrative that their daughter was an innocent bystander and or whatever you want to say, like an innocent victim in the car crash, and she had a medical episode and whatever else, whatever other lies they've been spewing, because obviously she's been convicted. So, she's right where she needs to be. And then, of course, all the phone calls afterwards don't really help the case. And then, of course, the parents just keep going. I don't know what all interviews y'all have seen, but the ones I've seen, they've been pretty ridiculous. But let's go ahead and let him talk here, and then I'll do a little commentary here and there, but I'll try not to interrupt it too much. Yeah, this guy, Low Test Steve, as AG Tactical calls him. And if you haven't followed him, you need to. He's been covering a lot of her stuff. And then Plunder True Crime, Annie Elise. There's a bunch of different ones on YouTube that are going through her stuff. But anyway, let me play this. Hopefully, it will not be so
early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla was driving a car through Strongsville, Ohio. This was around 5:30 in the morning. And in the car with her was Dominic Russo, her boyfriend, and their friend, Davion Flanagan. Now, what happened next with the accident and Mackenzie being charged with their murder is the subject of a new Netflix documentary called The Crash. Maybe you've had time to watch it and form your own opinion as to what you think happened in the car that night. I have my own thoughts on this, and when the documentary was being produced, I heard from Kenzie's parents, and never had the opportunity to sit down with them. But Steve, Mackenzie's father, reached out to me last week and asked if I'd be interested in an interview, and of course, I want to hear what he has to say. So I sat down with him yesterday, and we spoke for about an hour, and I want to share that interview with you today. I did learn some new things. There's some new facts about the case that I didn't know that certainly causes me to not really change my opinion, but it does change the way I see the accident itself. So without saying more, here is the interview with Kenzie Shirilla's father, Steve. Steve, my first question is, what is it like to be a part of the biggest documentary on Netflix?
Wow, it's mixed. I was hoping during this process we would get Mackenzie's story out, or what happened to Mackenzie, and not necessarily what everybody's heard or what everybody keeps gleaming off of misinformation. And I want to say it was promised that it would be fair, but that's what my allusion to what was going on. I thought they came to us thinking that my daughter is a monster and that she did this and she's hell on wheels and she picked that road and blah blah blah. What the judge said. But I think after they started talking to us, I think we opened their eyes to, well, maybe there's something funny going on here, and that's where I thought it was. And then when it came out, a lot of the stuff we talked about just wasn't there. There wasn't a lot about the fact that there's no evidence of premeditation, prior calculation or intent. It's not there. And every troll online can tell me, oh yeah, she did it, all this, and she was speeding down that road and she didn't hit her brakes. Well, she didn't hit her brakes for 4.74 seconds of that ride. That's the only information they have. 4 points. That's when the black box turned on, about 5 or 6 seconds before she crossed Almeida Road and before it went into the building. Something happened in that car that caused that black box to turn on, which was, I think the car, from our car expert that we talked to, said that the car thought it was flipping over. So the black box turned on and started recording the car information in a non-linear sort of way. And that's important, that non-linear sort of way. And it deployed both side airbags. And I'm sorry, side airbags don't just go pillow fight. You know, it's not a soft explosion. It's a boom, and then there's powder all over there's powder floating in the car, in the cabin of the car.
Are you saying the airbags deployed before the accident?
Both side airbags deployed prior to her car crossing the street to hit the sign to get veered into the building.
That seems like a
So one real thing, I just wanted to Google this just to see. And I said, are there videos of Mackenzie Shirilla taking that route the days before? It says, no, there are no actual surveillance or camera videos of Mackenzie Shirilla driving that exact route days before the accident. Instead, prosecutors used cell phone GPS data from July 28th, 2022 to establish that her phone was in the area of the Strongsville, Ohio Industrial Park a few days prior. And then this evidence was presented at the trial to argue that she was conducting a dry run to scout the location. The GPS evidence, along with the black box data from the fatal morning, is detailed further in true crime coverage, such as Entertainment Weekly breakdown of the case. And then, would you like to know more about it? It says other key pieces of evidence used during her trial. The specific details about the speed and vehicle data leading up to the crash, and how the GPS data is addressed in documentaries like The Crash or the Mean Girl Murders. So that was the one that was on ID Network or whatever that was. We'll have to look at this Entertainment Weekly thing. But anyway, I just thought make sure they do have something showing that she was at least in the area. If that's pinging from the actual street, whatever. If it's not, then that's a whole nother thing. But I think for the most part, the prosecutor got it right. Just saying. Sorry, just had to.
Pretty big piece of information that we didn't get.
Yeah, I wonder why the prosecution didn't want to use it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they had it. They got the black box information. The black box is a nonlinear function. It's like an airport, airplane black box, but it doesn't record sound and what's going on in the cabin. It records mechanical aspects of the car, braking, accelerating, blah blah, that kind of stuff. So the only actual evidence, hard knock on wood evidence, is from 4.74 seconds of that black box. That's not talking what happened prior. All the way to when she turned. That's another what?
So everything we saw in that video of her speeding at the
that last moment. Yeah. That's after the black box turned on
and after the airbags deployed.
Mm-hmm.
So it could just be three kids in the car freaking out because
Sasquatch could have popped in the car. Anything.
I mean, it would be hard to drive.
Yeah, well, the car expert said, he said nobody anybody in that car would be disoriented because of the two explosions and the powder floating around. You wouldn't be able to see. So I can't explain the speed. Oh, sorry. I can't explain the speed, but that road is a cut through in Strongsville, and the police know it.
Yeah.
Everybody uses it. I've been down that road at a pretty good clip at times. Not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's not at all. It's a shortcut for where she goes. And plus, Dom did not like going down Pearl Road. He liked the.
Why didn't he like going down Pearl Road?
He's fixing to
he
say
sold
some
drugs, or at least
yeah.
my understanding is he sold marijuana at this time. And if he got pulled over and he had marijuana on him, he would go to jail.
There's lots of police.
And there's a lot of police, and they sit in the shops all the way up Pearl, and they don't really sit back in that industrial parkway. Like I said, it's a cut through. It's a quick cut through, and he always made her go down through that way. Even on her prom, her mom, Christine Russo, and Dom made her go down that road. She's even, and I wish my cousin passed away a couple months ago, and he could have attested because he was in the car with us. But but my understanding is we go down that road all the time, and even in the bindover or the bindover Discovery, there's a note in it that says we know it's a known cut through. So the police know it. And they even state it. It's a known cut through. So for the judge to go, you chose that road and blah blah blah, it doesn't make any sense because the police, the detective, because he said it, knows it's a cut through. I mean, it's crazy. And they knew, and the drugs, and so Don would have Mackenzie hold the drugs.
How do you know that? How do you know Don was into that?
Because my daughter told me. He told me that he sells marijuana and friends buy it from him. And I know a lot of, I know, it's just something that I know.
There's a
after 4 years.
Background that didn't come out in Netflix either. I know he has.
Well, I think they're
been in trouble with the law before.
Yes, and that's the reason why he would have me mule for him, carry his drugs. So if they got pulled over, she got in trouble for him, but it would be just a slap on the wrist, basically.
He had a prior charge for assault as well.
I heard something about that. I don't know the full story on it. I think it was some kind of family thing that went on, but I don't.
Any idea why that didn't come out in the Netflix stuff?
I don't know. I don't know why the Netflix people picked what they picked.
Yeah.
Why they edited it the way they edited. I'm not real happy with the way they edited some of the stuff and some of the stuff they picked for me to say. I said what I said in that, and I meant every word that I said.
That they picked the words that you were going to say, sir. You were saying you didn't care if your daughter smoked pot and all the other things that you said. I mean, I've said it twice, and I'm like, you are the most enabling, permissive type parent in the world, and that's why your daughter's where she's at. So you're like, I don't have a problem with anybody smoking pot. I mean, they're not giving you a script. They're asking you questions, and you answer according to what you believe. Anyway, but anyway,
I wasn't trying to hide anything. I was trying to be as honest as I could, but it seemed to be more about me and not about what was happening to my daughter. And so, I mean, like I said, I'm not real happy with how the outcome. But if it wins an Oscar, I guess I get an Oscar. I'm part of an Oscar. So,
there are a couple of questions that came up since the documentary came out. I think it could have been worse. I watched it over the weekend. But there were a couple questions that had come up. One was, can you tell us a little? I mean, it's such a stupid little thing. Your shirt.
Let me ask again. Is this okay? I don't want to trigger anybody in this world that I'm wearing an orange polo. I hope it's not colorblind enough for anybody.
It's tone deaf, stupid.
The shirt I was wearing is from Drip Drop, which is Crime Circus on YouTube. Crime Circus has been a defender for my daughter. He's made many posts saying she's innocent, and he shows the evidence, and he contradicts people who say, no, she's guilty, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, no, you have to look at this and this. He was about a month after her trial. His one of his posts showed up with us. Someone sent it to us, and he had found 5 or 6 interviews from the Strongsville Police Department that were not in the discovery, or were not in the discovery that we could find. And we went over everything, and we had access to everything during the bind over in the trial. They were 5 interviews with Christine Russo, Dom's brother, two of Dom's kind of friends, the Flanagans, and Hench. I think it's Hench, because he gets things done. Christopher Martin, the felon that lives in Christine Russo's basement, and he's the one that gave the information or the intent to Mackenzie in her trial. He's the one that stated something that didn't happen, and we've got proof that Mackenzie did not threaten that crash that car that day. But these 5 videos weren't in the discovery, and in all the videos, everyone is in there says that Mackenzie has a problem passing out or sees as there was an issue, and they just blew over it. And at some point, during Christine Russo's or the brother's interview, because Christine and the brother were there, and every time the detective asks the brother something, he starts to answer, which seems to be truthful. And then Christine Russo talks over him and answers it for him. And he goes, oh, yeah. So at some point, Christine Russo says, no one's going to see these, right? And the detective goes, no, I'm not putting them in.
Wow.
So again, that's omittance. And that seems kind of shady to me.
Well, if there were witnesses
Well, and if they were in the if they weren't in the discovery, they were still available. So if you're really trying to fight for your daughter, you should have been looking for them because I found them, I think, on Shirilla.net. That now the domain is no longer up, and I don't know why they removed it. Maybe that I don't know. It's no longer there. But somebody had compiled a bunch of stuff for the case. So I mean, I'm not sure what happened with that.
Back up the claim that Kenzie occasionally passed out or had these seizures. That's pretty big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think so. I would think the detective should, have an obligation to look into it. But when he got her, my understanding is when he got her medical records, he picked up her medical records from the day of the crash forward. He did nothing about going from the day of the crash back.
But it wasn't brought up in the trial other than when the mom said it, that she had a couple of episodes. That was it. That was all that was touched on it. So if they really thought that she had this condition, that should have been brought out during the course of the trial. And I don't know why the defense attorney didn't touch it, but he didn't. And she's still sitting in jail, convicted as a felon for murder of two people. Just saying.
True or false?
Yeah,
but that's my understanding. Sorry, the shirt. The shirt is Crime Circus's logo or one of his swag that he sells. The boom is one of his things. So I wore the shirt to say thank you for what he was doing for my daughter, and he's done a lot. And if I see him, I'm going to hug him. That's the first thing I'm going to do. He's been a very good champion for what I feel is misjustice against my daughter and the lack of evidence to support
Injustice.
The charges. So that's what that shirt was about. Not me being colorblind to two boys dying because it was horrible. The day doesn't go by that I don't think about it, and that was one of the toughest things for me to do with this whole thing at the beginning was how can I be happy that my daughter's alive, been breathing? I mean, and the fact that these two boys died, and Dom was part of our family, and however anybody wants to spin it, he went everywhere with our family. He was at Easter, Christmas. He was a part of our vacations. He was part of our family. I'm sorry the Russos lost a son, or a brother, or a cousin. I'm sorry. I'm sorry the Flanagans lost Davion. There's nothing I can say.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do.
Of course not.
To ever change that. I was at the gravesite with Christine and countless days. I talked to the dad. The dad was in my house telling Mackenzie he believes her that blah blah. They thought it was an accident. It's okay, and they did this little pendulum thing, and then after the bind over, it stopped. I don't get it. None of the evidence changed. And the black box information was the black box information.
Prosecutors gave them a place to focus their anger.
Well, their story. It was his narrative, and even in one of those drip drop or one of those release videos, the detective saying, "Well, I'm just doing what Troop wants, what Tim wants. I'm just So we believe this detective on day 3 or 4 already assumed the worst. So. That's what sorry to go back to it. That's what the shirt was. The shirt was a thank you to Crime Circus. Wasn't a me being colorblind or insensitive to anybody, because that's the most idiotic. Because oh my God, why would I do that? That's got to be the dumbest take on a shirt. And again, everyone, it's orange. I'm sorry if it's offensive. I apologize now.
I just assumed. It's a graphic T-shirt. And I know you come from an art background, graphic design.
Yep, graphic design. Yep.
And then you were teaching art.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, what's happened since the documentary came out?
Well,
he got canned.
Apparently, the diocese had a problem with something I said in there, along with
about the drugs.
Yes, that's my understanding. There was a website out of Parma, Parma something, and I guess they just called in and made all kind of stupid, baseless accusations. And then the diocese has an obligation to protect the kids, which I understand. But the problem I have with the diocese doing how they did it is they didn't talk to me. They don't
have to talk to you.
Here it is. Boom.
So you were teaching for like a Catholic school.
Catholic school, yes.
Yeah. They're saying that because of the drugs or something.
Something. I mean, in the documentary, we were talking about her.
Didn't have a problem with her.
I didn't. As you know, as a parent, I pick my battles. You know, I'm sorry if I find marijuana not that dangerous as I find alcohol or cocaine or whatever. You know,
he's still doubling down on the drugs. I mean, that's probably what caused the accident. But okay, we're just gonna keep going with the drugs. I mean, you don't encourage your children to do drugs. I don't care how old they are. You should never encourage your kids to do drugs. Or just be like, oh, I pick my battles. That is a battle that should be won, sir. And you need to be fighting it. You are her parent. You're not her friend. You're not trying to be her buddy. It's so stupid.
My daughter, beyond what everybody else seems to think or wants to interpret or glean, she seemed mature enough to handle it. I didn't see a issue. It wasn't causing her to be.
Obviously it was causing her problems. And then if you really believe that Dom was a drug dealer, why were you letting her hang out with him? Duh.
Late for this or not do this or get in an accident. Get an accident. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't anything that was, and I had other battles I wanted to fight with her, and I taught her right along. I said, look, you can't be driving with it. Blah blah blah. Watch with, you know, you can't. Be careful with Dominic. You know, if you get caught, he gets caught. You get caught. You know, all I can do is teach her and try to make her learn. She's a lot like me.
But she also was not living in your home, right? So you obviously didn't care too much. That's what it's been reported, that she wasn't even living at home. She was living with Dom. And even in the video call or whatever, when she was cussing at him and saying she was going to key his car, she was like, you're going to let me into my house that we share, even though I'm sure it was his house and she paid no bills. But okay, anyway.
When I was little, I needed to do it, experience it to learn it, you know, and don't touch the stove. Steve, don't touch the stove. And I go touch the stove and I got burned. You know, it's who she is. You know, she has to learn for herself and make her own choices. And that's what I was doing. And she was getting older and her and Dom were making a life together. Now, was I greatly happy with the relationship? No. This toxic has been thrown around a lot. I didn't see the toxic relationship that everybody's saying, oh, it's toxic. This is a toxic relationship. They argued. I argued with my wife. Everybody argues, okay? From what I knew, it wasn't toxic. They argued. They broke up. He's over the next day with flowers and candy and a stuffed animal. I mean, it was like every couple of months something would happen, you know? And my wife was helping them try to fix their relationship. And they were never, ever breaking up. And anybody who says that is lying. And I don't care if it's hurtful. They were not breaking up. They may break up, but they were getting right back together. I was on my daughter all the time. I punished her all the time. Okay, it's not a me going, okay, just go have a whole time, go smoke dope, have fun, woo, drive your car really fast.
I mean, that's what it looks like on the documentary. It looks like a teenage girl who has no supervision,
that's
who
right.
smokes weed all the time, who makes her own rules.
That's exactly what it looked like. And I believe that's exactly what it was. You did not supervise that child. She was not living with you.
With her boyfriend. How much of that is true? How much?
She stayed with her boyfriend. It was. They were talking about moving in, and she was getting close to 18. And if I would have hammered her and locked her into her room, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Chain her to the bed? I mean, that's okay. All I can do is teach her how to survive and live. You know, and she knew if there's a problem, who to call. You know, she talked to my wife all the time. If these two kids were going to break up and there was a problem, my wife would already know. We would have known it. Okay. I would have been very happy about it if they broke up. Okay. No boy would ever be good enough for my daughter. And that's a father, you know, but again, he did treat her very well. You know, I didn't see much of the fight. I didn't see the stupid little fights or the arguments I didn't see it.
One other thing that came out I've been trying to catch up on social media about what people are saying about this. There's one other weird thing that came up I was hoping that you could explain a little bit. I guess at one point, Kenzie and her mother are caught on tape talking in like what people are calling a different language, or like
it's Carney. It's gypsy speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that something they would do?
And they probably did that so that he couldn't understand what they were saying. Because I think he said he doesn't speak it, so they probably did everything to cover up what they were talking about around him because he's such a feckless low T, as AG Tactical calls him, low T Steve or low test Steve. So I mean, I'm pretty sure they were doing it just so that he couldn't understand what was going on, while her mom's keeping secrets and helping her basically lie about everything she does. I mean, that woman. Oh my goodness! And you should just hear their phone calls if you haven't already. Go to phone calls from prison. They have so many phone calls on there, and it's just like these people are the dumbest people ever. So dumb. Anyway, sorry, I just.
It's a family thing. It's a family thing that my wife grew up with.
Can you speak it?
No,
exactly.
Because they do it so fast. It's
I know how it works now.
To say
you add an extra syllable in with
the is easy. I think I'm going to say that right. It's like a pigland. You're adding vowels, or you're splitting the word with, and it's something the families. My wife's family has done for years. It's nothing. It's like when the gypsies and the carnivals would come around, and they didn't want the locals to hear what they were saying. That's what they would speak. Yeah. So my daughter and wife talk that way. When they don't want to have someone hear what they're talking about, that's what they talk about. It's like having a German person or Japanese out here in America start talking Japanese because they don't, it's a private thing, So that's what the speech. It's called Carney.
How old was Kenzie when she learned how to?
She was pretty young. I've never heard anyone say it. I'm sorry. I'm smiling. I'm smiling because it's a good memory for me. My wife and my daughters. It's like bees. And during this process, we knew
again, they're hiding it from you, stupid. What a low testosterone man. He doesn't have any kind of say so in his own household, and you know damn well that's what it is. He may think he does, but that wife is running the show. And those girls were running all over him. All three of them, the mom, the two daughters, running over him, especially Mackenzie.
Daughter was in the juvenile center or over in county. She didn't want people around hearing what we were talking about because there's big ears everywhere, and then someone's going to say something, and we didn't want to give away what we were possibly doing in court or how we were going to try to defend her. So we were trying to be careful what anybody else overheard or who was overhearing her, or I say we, but they were. It's a language they speak together. It's like twins speaking a weird language. It was not to hide anything nefarious. There's big talk about something she said in the hospital, and if you know the language, she didn't say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing.
Yeah, I think they're trying to
say she was saying, "Oh, I was seizing her," and that didn't happen. There's no Sizu Izu. There's no word in that whole conversation about that. Plus, my daughter was just out of. That was the day, that was the day of or the day after, and she was on all kind of pain medication. She broke her femur. She broke her fibula. I think it's the fibula, right? Yeah. She broke the fibula, detached
Sir,
tricep,
that's the humerus.
3 broken ribs, a punctual
injury
knee, lacerated liver, lacerated kidney, bumps and bruises all over her face. Both her carotid arteries were damaged. I mean, the kid's lucky to be alive. So she was on, she didn't really know what she was saying. She had just found out what happened with Dom and Davion because we didn't tell her at first. She was in so much pain, and we just didn't want to add to that. So
it strikes me too as like every time I think about this, it's a really stupid way to commit suicide if that's what you're in.
God, my God, she was not committing suicide. There's an
No, she was too stuck on herself to commit suicide. I can assure you of that. With all the Instagram and the TikTok and everything else, that girl was so full of herself, and she was going to make sure she survived it somehow.
No base, no evidence, no no manifesto, no note, no video, nothing. There's not one iota of evidence.
What do you think happened?
God, okay, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know. I know the car crashed. I know Davion and Dominic lost their lives. I know my daughter was lucky to be alive. I I know she went through I believe she was falsely accused. The charges she was accused of, not, I'm not completely getting away. She's not completely innocent. She was driving a car, and it should have never left the juvenile court, and it should have been vehicular homicide or reckless vehicular homicide. And I don't think you could even prove reckless with what evidence is not available to the prosecutor. But I don't know. I think it was. I would. If I had to give my guess, I think it's a bunch of things. I think it's a perfect storm. I'm pretty good. She was probably coming down her 60, 70 miles an hour. Okay. One theory is something happened to the car. Toyota has a history with that kind of car. It's documented. It's on the.
He better not get sued for that. He's lying about Toyota. I mean, I haven't heard of that, but I don't pay that much attention to recall stuff either. But I'm just saying, like, you might want to be careful with that, making those kind of allegations.
Internet. I don't know. I don't know how would ever prove it. The black box isn't on. It's not recording any of that because the black box turned on down the road. If something happened to the car and the gas pedal stuck and accelerated, all would be in that car is panic. And then if that car came around that little bend, and it's not a severe bend, it's a manageable bend, and it hit that dip that used to be in the road that the city fixed last year or last summer, that car went flying, and that's what turned on. That's what the black box said. The car went right to left. The car thought it was flipping over. The black box turned on. Side airbags went off. I mean, and again, the black box is non-linear. It's not a linear recording. It doesn't go on. It's not a constant. Like every micro. Yeah, in a nonlinear thing, it's going half second, half second, half second, half second, or microsecond, like whatever the timing is. And our car guy said, you can't necessarily say she'd never braked, because it could have happened in between. And mind you, I'm not saying that because there's no proof to that. Why would I? But it could have happened.
Everybody else is saying a lot of things where there's no proof.
Yeah, well, sorry. Well, yeah, especially the prosecutor, and there's more to that if we can get to it eventually. But at the end of that video, the brake lights go on, and their car expert said, "Well, that's a safety feature." Yeah. Well, why did the brakes go on?
Aren't brakes a safety feature by design?
I think so, but what I'm saying is, the brake. You could see the brakes clearly
on the video.
On the video, you clearly see them, and his response, "Well, that's a safety feature." Well, why did the safety feature work prior?
Yeah,
it hadn't hit anything. It just went across the road. That was right as it went across the road. So why is the safety feature only working right there? So
why do you think they went so hard against her?
Yeah, well, there's the part where maybe I'll get myself in trouble. I think there's some collusion going on. I think it's a fix. I think it's a favor. That last name Russo in this town.
It's like I was trying to explain that to somebody. Having the last name Russo in Cuyahoga County is like having the last name Kennedy in Boston.
There might be some truth to that. Like I said, this is a political family, and I apologize to the Flanagan.
Or rather than take responsibility and understand that his daughter's an evil person, he's gonna use that and say that the Russos did this to her. Okay.
Family right now. If it was just Davion in the car, she wouldn't be in jail. She would have. It would have never left the juvenile court. This has to do with the boy's last name, and the judge saying, "Well, I don't have a blood relationship." Look, I'm not saying she has got a blood relationship. I'm saying she has relationships with the Russo family, and her even saying that in court just if you're going to believe she doesn't have a relationship, you're fooling yourself. I'm not saying it's directly with Christine Russo down the road here, but it's with somebody, And
there are many Russos.
Yes,
in judicial.
Yes, positions. In fact, it was
in the prosecutor's office.
Yep, and Christine Russo was part of that prosecutor's office at one point, and I believe she's friends with Tim True. I think they were in the office together.
Well, let me jump ahead a little bit.
Okay.
How is what was Kenzie's take on the documentary? How's she doing after this has come out?
She's okay. I thought she was okay with it. She's in Marysville.
Okay.
She wasn't so okay with the fact that they used when she turned to the lawyer. Her lawyer was there with her when she did this, and she turned to him and wanted to make sure she said what she wanted to say and that she didn't sound like she's just talking gibberish. So she turned to him and they ran with that and let it go. And it just makes her seem like it was
Scripted,
performant, and it wasn't. I thought she did well, and she was beautiful, and I think she was very composed. You can see that she's got a couple years maturity to her now.
Yeah, I did notice that.
It's a rehabilitation. Marysville's more of a rehabilitation than it is a maximum security, locked cells, or the prisons you see on TV or in a movie.
Are they able to go outside?
She goes outside. She's got a lot of freedom. Other than being a Joe, she's got some freedom. She's got a day and she does stuff. They go outside. She's starting to take classes, college classes. She works in the kitchen. She's got jobs.
What would she, if this hadn't have happened, what would she be doing today?
She was looking at modeling and fashion and stuff like that. And we were with the barber. She was
like when she was in the hospital, her mom asked her, replying to modeling companies. Yeah, we know she was all about herself, even in the hospital, or at least her mom was all about her.
At the barber, and there was a big stink about that. There was something she was going to something, or something was planned, and it was just them talk. It wasn't us going, "Hey, we're going to do." It wasn't that kind. Things are blown so far out of proportion sometimes. It was just something.
It looks bad, sir. You have to understand the optics of stuff. Looks terrible when your wife's talking to modeling companies while your daughter's still in the hospital and two boys are being buried. That does look terrible.
Something she was involved with prior and during the accident, or during this, during her rehabilitation or whatever, so it's not not a colorblind thing. It had nothing to do with remorse. It was about something she was doing already. There was plans, or there was plans, and they were just talking about it. That's all. It wasn't anything nefarious against the boys, or, oh my God, look, she's trying to be a model after all. But she was trying to be a model prior. It was just it was the continuation of what she already started. So,
is there anything else you'd like to clear up that you think?
I could clear every little misconception out, and there'll still be the people on the internet making their own assumptions. I don't know how many podcasts I've watched that all their information, anything, they had the gist of the story. There's a crash, 2 boys died, Mackenzie. Okay. But all their facts are wrong. I hear, well, she was doing this and she was doing that. I mean, there's just, unless you really delve into it and look at the transcripts and you're not going to, you can't see. I don't know how people can get on and actually say, well, she did this and she didn't. She didn't plan it. That morning, the boys woke her up. There was no fighting the whole time they were there. Even the boy whose house he was at, even said something like they weren't fighting. Rosie and Bubba both said they weren't fighting. There was no fighting. It wasn't okay. My understanding is Mackenzie had her head on Dom's lap almost all night for when she was sleeping. Okay. The boys got her up. They got in the car. My understanding is there's a grocer, or it was an organic, good food kind of, local honey, good stuff, for you. And my daughter and Dom were eating healthy. So they have lockers outside. So if you buy, say, potatoes, she'll put the potatoes in the locker, give you the number, and then you can come by at any time and pick it up. It was a convenience for the customer. So it makes, now, I don't know if they were going there again for sure, because I don't know. But that would be on the route. That would be the quickest way to, and they had planned on making dinner that night or going to dinner or doing something. They were planning her birthday. They weren't, again, they were not breaking up. For anyone to say they were breaking up, it is a lie. It is, there's no base, it's a baseless narrative from the prosecution. It's an absolute lie. And they were never going to break up, to my dismay, mind you. I would, every time they did break up, I was happy. I was like, oh, please, 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 please. Mind you, again, Dom was a gentleman over here, and he was very respectful. He was respectful at every place we went. Okay, so I mean, I don't. But
whereas your daughter was not. Even Tyler Proctor said that during his interview with the detectives, that she was disrespectful, and even his parents didn't like her, and he was the ex-boyfriend. So
again, I knew
nobody did.
He didn't have a job. He didn't have a job. He had hundreds of dollars on him at all time. We went to dinner, and he pulls up. He fanned out, more money.
You asked him, like, where'd you get that?
I knew. I know what he was doing. It must have been good. I mean, he's got the whole high school and right next to him. Again, I'm not saying that to slander Dominic.
You are.
It is. It's just what it is. I don't know. Like I said, that the lack of evidence and the lack of evidence that supports the judge's summation. There is none. They threw in at the last minute the cell tower pinged and you were there, so you were checking it out.
Right.
That's a leap. You're in the city. You're in Strongsville, and a cell tower in Strongsville in an area that you're down all the time. Picks up your phone, and how do you leap from you're casing this spot out? That's from a judge. That's from a sitting judge of how many years? What, 15, 20 years or something?
And did y'all do anything about that? Did you appeal it? Did you, try to do anything? I guess y'all did, and it wasn't picked up by the Supreme Court. So you might want to be careful saying that too. Anyway.
Like that, she's been on the bench a long time, and that came out of her mouth. You case this place out. That's no. There's absolutely no. Now, if they had a picture of her doing it, and she's over there looking, and in one of her posts, she goes, "I was checking out the crash site today." Oh, sure. Look, if you can prove to me she did it with intent, then she's right where she belongs.
That's where it comes down for me is proving the intent. And it seems to me that the only way anybody could possibly do that in a situation is to get inside her mind, which we can never do. We can never know. Which is why I think if it had gone to a jury of 12 people,
she would
one
have never,
of those people,
she would have never got convicted. She'd be free today. She'd be going on with her life. But she'd be free. That's the truth. But to let you know that her lawyer, when asked her about a jury or bench, she asked for a jury, and he talked her out of it.
What's the benefit of a bench trial over?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to ask Jim McDonald. I mean, he clearly knows the law better than me.
Probably because they knew she was a bad witness and didn't want to put her on the stand because they would have been like, oh no, honey, you're guilty. Look at you looking at yourself all over the place, taking all these pictures of yourself, posing, doing all the things, and then the angry video that she had. I know Dom had a video too. I realized that where she took one of him while he's screaming at her in the car, but he was telling her to stop being disrespectful. So obviously he probably just got fed up with whatever she was doing and saying to him while he's paying all the bills and taking care of her. So just saying.
Told her to get a jury trial. You're not going to get 12 people that are going to go along with this.
What's her best chance of getting out at this point?
We're at the state level. We knew the Cuyahoga County was going to be. She was not going to get any relief from. That's just how Cuyahoga County is. When we've talked about that a little bit.
You kind of have to be from Cuyahoga County to
understand. So we knew Cuyahoga County was going to railroad us, or what do you call roadblock us at every pass, and they did. You know, them changing the coroner's report from accidental to homicide was done illegally. They needed to go through a court hearing to have it done, and they didn't. The appellate court called them on it, and all they did was smack their hand. If this had been any other trial, they'd be back at trial. That'd be a mistrial, or that would be a reason to go back to trial. But not in Cuyahoga County, because you know Nancy Margaret Russo is blah blah blah. We're still fighting the late.
Oh yeah, you were a day late.
A day late. My lawyer, well, we had a public defender at first, and we talked to him for like a minute, and he ordered the transcripts from the trial, because that's what you need, and the transcripts from the bind over. There's two different trials. One's at the juvenile level, one's the trial. Yeah. Well, when the new lawyers, Eric Nemechek, got a hold of it, all he had was the trial. So he put in for the bind over stuff, and the bind over stuff came a month later. So he thought he had a little more time.
Yeah.
And it was a leap year. It's almost like, again, another perfect storm. But
who was the person to rule that it was a day late?
When they put the brief into, because it goes back to Nancy.
Yeah. Right. That's what I thought it was.
Isn't that crazy? It goes back to the judge, who's already biased.
Yeah.
Okay. She's already biased. She's biased herself. And if anyone can't see that,
she doesn't want to overrule herself.
She's not going to overrule herself. I mean, that ego must, I don't know how she walks in and out of the room with that kind of ego, you know?
Excuse me, sir. Ego.
It's unfortunate that a sitting judge of that long ruled that way and acted that way. Maybe it makes sense why she didn't get reelected, or on the new seat she wanted, you know, maybe it makes sense why the Democratic Party didn't endorse her. We've heard that there's some investigation going on about her. You know, who knows? You know, but a sitting judge that long on the bench can't decipher between fact and speculation. She's either incompetent, dirty, or both. Sorry. But the thing that I really want to touch on, the prosecutor. Let's talk about Tim Troop. Tim Troop in the documentary. You hear him. He's on camera saying, "Well, we looked at everything. We turned everything over, and we looked at everything. So it's this."
Yeah.
What do you mean you looked at everything? What exactly did you look at? How do you go from, well, we looked at all this, so if it was none of this, it has to be this.
Yeah.
That's a jump. That's a, well, I
have an expert there saying that the slipper might not have caused the accelerator to stick, but that's one guy's opinion.
That slipper! I didn't even talk about the slipper.
If I see that in an accident scene where you've got the black box data showing that the accelerator was
pushed all the way to the floor,
and then there's a slipper stuck, like, I mean,
yeah. Well,
come on.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably, what do you call it? Without a shadow of a doubt, it's a doubt. It's a plausible, realistic doubt that judge should have taken into consideration. Then again, our lawyer should have done, her lawyer, I'm my lawyer. I would never have that guy as my lawyer. Yeah, that's hindsight, by the way. But if he would have fought for her and brought some of this stuff up, I mean, now in his defense, I'll go this way. He saw there was nothing. They didn't have anything. And I think maybe that's what he's doing, because it's the burden of proof on the prosecution. So he doesn't really have to say anything. You have to prove it. And I don't believe, and if you listen to that prosecutor did not prove intent. But Tim Troop in the documentary says, I looked at everything and I couldn't figure it out. So it has to be this. It's almost like the wife dies in an accident in the house and they look at everything, but it's the husband. It's a jump. It's a lazy jump.
It is a lazy.
And the detective, I don't know how that guy has his job. I don't know how he became a detective. That's my opinion. This is a lazy dude. He was in the bind over. He was on the stand, and the only time Mackenzie's lawyer was doing anything for her was when he was cross-examining him. And at some point, he goes to the detective and goes, "What do you think happened?" And he stammers, "I don't know." And I wasn't in there because I was supposed to be a witness. And me and Jim argued back and forth because I didn't like how Jim was talking and saying and doing stuff. So he kept me out of the room. So I didn't. upset the cart, I guess. But if I'd have been in there, I would have shouted. Our lawyer should have turned to the judge, who's an O'Malley, who I think is a sister or a brother or a cousin to Mike O'Malley. Should have turned to that judge and said, motion to dismiss. How does the guy who's finding all this evidence, all this massive evidence, not speculation, evidence, not I think she did it. Oh, we believe she did it. Oh, I feel she did it. It's evidence. I don't know why he didn't turn to that judge and go, how does this guy who knows all this, who's the keeper of all the evidence, not know? So if this guy doesn't know,
that guy has doubt.
If this guy, the guy who's looking at it, doesn't know, if he doesn't know, how do you even charge somebody with any kind of thing? You don't know. You're guessing. You're making a guess. You watched CSI last night, and you're making a call off of watching CSI a couple episodes. This guy's a danger. He's a dangerous. This is a dangerous detective out of Strongsville. He's dangerous. Anybody, you get pulled over now in Strongsville speeding, it's attempted murder. That's the precedent they've set with this case.
How long do you
Get the
think
hell out of here.
she'll be in jail?
I don't know. I don't know.
Are you preparing for a long haul? Are you very hopeful?
I'm hopeful somebody with some common sense and can look at everything. I mean, not the minutia, not the screaming people online, but look at the evidence. This, A, B, C, D, whatever, and look and subjectively look at what was presented, and look and say, look, okay, you got some black box information. The car was going fast. You can't explain the car. You can't explain the speed. The video clearly shows the brakes going on, no matter what the expert says. It's funny that it broke there and it didn't break there, or there. So if that's a safety feature for a car, I've been 100 in a car. I don't remember my car braking for me when I was going over 100. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it is. So I don't get it. And she didn't drive directly into that building. She drove into it. Mind you, it's apples to oranges here. She hit that sign first, and that sign veered her into that building. What would happen if she kept going straight? I don't know. They bailed that. Who knows? I don't know. I know my daughter didn't do it on purpose. I know when my daughter lies. That was part of the documentary too. I gave a story where something happened at the school and blah blah blah. But I know when my daughter lies. It's my daughter. There's a twinkle in her eye. There's something I can tell when she's not being honest with me. She doesn't look at me. It's not it's my daughter. And if that makes me a bad parent. I'm not a bad parent. I did my best with my daughters. I tried to teach them rather than punish them. This world's crazy, and there's some crazy stuff that goes on. There's some crazy people in this world. So I was doing my best to teach her, and I picked my battles that I felt happened. How was I ever going to stop her from smoking marijuana? My daughter should have been charged with vehicular homicide, 2 counts, and juvie court, and it should have never left. The juvenile judge took out the aggravated murder thing for the same reason I'm saying they should have never charged her because there's no intent, there's no prior calculation, there's no purpose. It's not there. And again, Tim Troop can get up there and and dun dun dun, Tim Troop, and she did this and I feel this. It's not evidence. He can feel all he wants. It's not evidence. And I think he did it's a complete injustice to my daughter. And this has nothing to do with the boys. It's again tragic that those boys died, and she has some responsibility to it. But what that is, nobody is ever going to know. And because nobody was in that car, and there's no evidence, and there's no story, there's no paper, there's no note, there's no video. My daughter and the remorse, that's another thing that's huge. I sat with my daughter for 3 months in that room right there. 3 months. Watching her watch every video, every song, every picture about that boy. There was a shrine to him in that room, a shrine. Cried herself to sleep every night. I know the trolls are going, good, she should cry herself to sleep. She has remorse. Yeah. She was upset. If you would have heard her when she found out that Don died, if you would have heard the sound that came out of her, it would have crushed you. She's 7. She was 17. She's a
That doesn't
dumb
mean
kid.
anything.
She wasn't breaking up. She didn't do it on purpose. And I've asked her, did you do this on purpose? And she's going, no. And I would think if my daughter was that mad at that boy to want to kill him that way, Davian would have never been in the car.
Right.
That makes no sense. If she was going to do that to Dom, there were guns all over that kid's house. Okay.
Where the guns come from?
He bought them. I don't know. I don't know. The reason I know he has guns because something was going on over there, and he took all the guns and threw them in my daughter's trunk. And I went into my daughter's trunk to get something, and in the trunk there was 10, 15 guns. Half of them were loaded. I had to.
Oh my God.
So that's how I know he has guns. If she was going to kill him, that would make more sense to me. But
and you don't involve an innocent.
So that makes no sense there. Something happened in that car. No one's ever going to know. She's innocent of the charges they put upon her. Again, should have been juvenile, vehicular homicide, 2 counts, and we would have went from there. She probably would have done some jail time.
Right. Probably be out by now.
Be out by now, or have been whatever.
How do you keep in contact her?
We can see her twice a month. We visit. It's about a 3 or 3.5 hour visit. But again, it's only twice. My wife is able to talk to her pretty much every day. Again, sorry to the people out there. It's our daughter. I love my daughter. I'm never going to stop fighting for her. I believe she was falsely charged. Well, no one's ever going to be able to convince me unless you can put the evidence in front of me.
Would you ever do another
documentary? You're probably close to. I'm going to get to being a documentary. I'm upset. I'm very disappointed in what they put out there.
Did you say anything?
Yes, we talked to them last week, and I blew my lid on them. Yeah. They did us dirty. I don't think they were very honest with us. I think they tried.
What did they say in defense?
Well, they were saying, we were trying to be unbiased and give both sides, and I don't really think they gave my daughters a fair shake at both sides. I think they sensationalized, especially with the comment about talking about my daughter, knowing my daughter's lying thing. Yeah, it had nothing to do with why she's in jail. So.
Are you looking for a job?
I don't know if I have a job yet. I'm guessing that I'm not going to. My contract's up in June, so I would hope that they'll pay me through June. They're doing some sort of investigation. I don't know how much more investigating they have to do. I know my
Is the direct result of the documentary?
I believe it's a documentary. Yes, I believe it's from it. Clearly, a bunch of crazies from Parma calling into the diocese is more factual to them than talking to me. This could have been over in a conversation. Did you say it? I'm like, you heard me say it. Well, what did you mean by that? I go, well, we were talking about. I didn't care. I don't care I don't care. It's none of my business what anybody does. I didn't care that my daughter smoked marijuana. I'm sorry. Right. That has nothing to do with my judgment. That has nothing to do with
marijuana. It's now
legal, and it has nothing to do with my art teaching. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with my kids. I don't walk into my room and go, okay, today we're going to paint a painting, and you should all do marijuana. I'm not doing that. That's got to be the biggest knee-jerk overreaction that you could ever imagine. I don't know why the school's not backing me up. That's to me, that's not very Catholic.
Because the parents are actually more concerned about you than they are about anything else. You obviously got poor judgment if you think your kid is allowed to continue to do that kind of stuff, sir. I wouldn't want my kid around some teacher that thinks it's cool for kids to smoke pot. You're actually supposed to be on the front lines telling them not to do drugs. Duh. But that's why your daughter's in jail, because you're too permissive. You want to be their friend and not be a damn parent.
Where's the compassion, the love, the understanding that they put out to everybody? They want you to be that way. But when it comes to them, what if I was a priest? If I was a priest, I'd be in another. They'd move me to another.
You can
continue on. Okay. So, mind you, I'm sorry the diocese acted that way. It's unfortunate. It's disappointing. It's disappointing how the documentary handled this. I think they gave the families a preview. They didn't offer us, which should have which shouts loud now that they didn't want us to see it. That would have been because my understanding is that the Russos didn't like a part, so they had them take it out. So they had some control of the editing, which to me is it's unfortunate. This whole thing is unfortunate, and I I believe my daughter has no idea what happened. I she was so beat up. She had bruises all over her face. I those airbags going off. I don't know if you've ever seen an airbag deployment online. I watched a guy with a helmet get knocked out. It hit him so hard, it knocked him out, and that could have ended why the arteries were, you know. So I don't know. I love my daughter, and I'm never going to stop, and I will go to my deathbed, knowing she did not do what the prosecution and this possibly incompetent on the take judge did to her.
All right, that's the interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was illuminating. I hope maybe it changed some minds about what you think happened.
No, because he basically doubled down on what he believes happened, and and then still saying stuff about the judge and all these other people. And I guess like some girl on AG Tactical, supposedly she's got a whole TikTok page saying that Dom was part of the mafia, and that's why he disappeared at 4 o'clock in the morning, and all this crazy stuff. But anyway, y'all have a good day. I will see about getting some more stuff uploaded. I want to look for those text messages. I know it's going to be kind of hard to find. But see y'all. Have a good one. Bye.